Alt season, in my opinion, is guaranteed to happen in this bull run. But there is a major problem that I'm seeing happening yet again that has happened twice already in this bull run that is going to get many of us wrecked. I'm talking about losing money. I'm talking about going through the emotions again of, oh my God, when I'm back to break even, I'm going to sell my portfolio and leave crypto forever. It's the same repeating pattern. Now, let me just clarify. Yes, I believe alt season in this bull run is going to happen, but do I believe alt season is happening right now? Well, we're going to go over some very important charts in this video to determine whether or not it is actually happening right now, once and for all. And if it's not, what are the signs to look for to determine alt season is actually happening right now? And then we're going to go into how to avoid some of the massive mistakes many crypto investors face when the markets begin to pump and how to avoid them. So if you do enjoy the journey in today's video and the lessons hopefully I'm able to teach you and help us just become better crypto investors, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed if you do find these videos entertaining or enjoyable. And without further ado, let's kick things off with, first of all, taking a look at how altcoins are doing right now. And yes, they're doing quite well, okay? And it does feel like alt season is here when these coins start pumping 10, 20, 15 or whatever % on the day, let alone even the week, okay? It feels great. But please do not get ahead of yourself. The fear and greed right now is back into greed. And I can sure as hell tell you right now, it doesn't take much to put it back into extreme greed. Considering last month we were in fear/extreme fear, it's kind of a crazy parallel to look at. I've actually created this chart here just to show you guys this. Okay, back over here, we were in extreme fear. And now, not too long after, we're back up here, at least on this chart, this white line, in kind of a neutral zone. It depends on what fear and greed chart you look at. This one here was made by Jason Pizzino, so Tier Technologies. It's a great one to use on top of charts. And I wanted to show you this just because it's a great example of when people are super excited or super fearful and what that looks like for price. Okay, you can actually see over here in the red zone, okay, which I determined above a score of 80, so that's extreme greed, that it's typically the top of that move. Now, extreme fear, so down here around the 25 zone, is typically a good time to buy, but that's when most people are fearful. You know, being neutral right now on Jason Pizzino's fear and greed chart says that we do have some more room in the tank, but just keep an eye on this. When things get overheated, then it's a good time to consider taking some profits. And I do want to give you guys a quick update in just a moment here on the Bitcoin cycle clock, because the Bitcoin cycle clock will actually tell us, hey, it's not just people's emotions like the fear and greed that are at all-time highs. But I want to now move into the discussion around like if alt season's happening right now and what's kind of happening before moving into, again, how we can avoid some of the massive mistakes and pitfalls like 95% of crypto investors tend to find themselves in. Again, remember guys, 95% of people in this market, because if we were in a room right now and I was talking on stage and there was 100 people in the room, I would look towards 95 of the 100 people and say, you're going to lose money. Think about that. 5 people in a room of 100 people will make any kind of money at all. And that's not always a lot of money either. Okay, and it statistically makes sense. So think about it like this. There's massive pitfalls most people fall into, and I'm here trying to provide you some of the ways to avoid them. So I mentioned this chart in a video I made a few days ago before I was unwell. I've been unwell the last few days. And I spoke about when we have these downtrends. We've had 3 so far in this entire bull run, right from back in August, October of 2023. So right when the bull run really started, up until even just as far as a few weeks ago, okay? We break these downtrends. What happens is Bitcoin dominance actually goes up, okay, initially. So this bottom chart and down here is actually others, so altcoin dominance. So this is an indication, of course, into alt season. So we can see here that Bitcoin dominance actually goes up for approximately 2 weeks after we break the downtrend. So one was here. Over here, you know, a year after that point in time, you know, there's a downtrend in Bitcoin's price. Bitcoin broke out of the downtrend. And then 2 weeks after, we saw again, kind of like Bitcoin dominance really picking up. So that's why we've got a drop here in the others dominance. And even recently, right? So we saw this break from the downtrend. And then 2 weeks later, what we're now seeing is what happened the last 2 times, which was altcoin dominance actually begin to increase. Okay, so let me clarify. Okay, Bitcoin's dominance tends to go up in the time of the downtrend. Okay, and when it breaks out of it, approximately 2 weeks later, it continues to go up. So alts suffer. It's until the move is confirmed, like what is happening right now, that last final push in Bitcoin's price, where, by the way, Bitcoin keeps going up. You can see over here, Bitcoin keeps going up in price, right? However, altcoins, you can see in this green bars down here, altcoins do even better than Bitcoin. So that's what we're looking for, and that's why I do think now we are in the green, at least based on history, for altcoins to actually go up. But this is the misleading problem. A lot of people believe that now that Bitcoin dominance is falling like it is right now, and while altcoins are going up, okay, it's alt season. Guys, it is not alt season right now. What we're experiencing is maybe possibly a mini alt season, a time to take some profits off the table, a time to reorganize the portfolio. And you'll see me making some more videos on this in the coming weeks. But as you can see here, based on these 1 and 2 previous breakouts of the downtrend, that we do have this sort of overall dropping in Bitcoin's dominance, which again it means that, altcoins are going up more than Bitcoin, which is fantastic. You can see it was 8% over here, 11% over here. So let's just assume a rough even 10% this time around. It'll take us down to about 58% Bitcoin dominance. So a massive move for altcoins, 100%. But it is not going to mean that alt season is happening right now. Again, these are times to possibly take some profits off the table, because until I believe altcoins break out of this neckline of the previous all-time high in their market cap from the previous cycle, okay, which would kind of be representative by breaking above a $500 billion market cap. And until we see Bitcoin break out of the downtrend, which I'll explain here in just one moment, it is far, far, far too early to be calling for, hey, everyone, go buy a bunch of altcoins right now, FOMO buy at prices 20, 30% higher than what they were a few weeks ago, and let's hold for a massive alt season. No, it's too early for that. I'm sorry to burst anyone's bubble. I tell you what you need to hear, not what you sometimes want to hear, but it could be the start of something much bigger. It could actually be the start of alt season, but again, it's too early to definitely tell. So we're on the right path, as you can see here from the previous charts. And I do now want to just mention very briefly, again, we are seeing some very important macro factors as well, like global M2, basically the liquid cash sloshing around the world. It is still increasing. It's taken a little bit of a pause recently, but that is absolutely okay. Of course, it's still trending upwards. And as you'll soon see, there are some macro charts that are indicating we are looking quite good, at least on track. So as I said, the Bitcoin ascending channel here is essentially a sort of ascending channel that Bitcoin finds itself in before alt season, all right? It's pretty much when Bitcoin itself is, gaining dominance and alts kind of end up suffering. There are some mini alt seasons along the way, but for the most part, until Bitcoin breaks out of this so-called ascending channel, it's not alt season, okay? And as you can see here, Bitcoin is well within the ascending channel. And the reason I know when Bitcoin breaks out of it, as in when Bitcoin's price goes above this upper trend line, okay, and stays above that, okay, that's actually alt season. The reason I know that is because based on these ascending channels and Bitcoin's price, when it breaks the ascending channel, you can see back here and even back over here, so represented by these green zones, that's when Bitcoin's dominance actually begins to really fall. Now, again, that is alt season. When Bitcoin's dominance falls, that is alt season. That's what many people are talking about right now. Just remember, though, there is a difference between Bitcoin's dominance falling, which it does quite often, and even falls quite a large percentage, like I showed you before, causing mini alt seasons. It doesn't mean the massive, big, true alt season is really here. So again, going now more specifically into how we can avoid the massive mistakes and pitfalls most crypto investors find themselves in. It's all about selling, guys, and it's so important to sell. What I've noticed myself is that it's very easy to get caught up in the hype, thinking that not necessarily the prices will go up forever, but thinking that we're going to have alt season right now. And if you sell, you're going to be selling prematurely. But again, let me remind you, based on what we know right now, we know that there is going to be alt season once Bitcoin breaks out of the ascending channel. Now, it's not guaranteed to happen again this time. Anything can possibly happen. It is a market after all. But as far as history has said with 100% certainty, like 100% track history, then that's what we're waiting for. So for me, when I'm looking to sell, okay, I'm looking to take some profits along the way. Now, the Bitcoin cycle clock, which I've created for you guys and will be available very soon in the private community, gives us a good indication of when it's time to kind of take some profits. Now, again, this is Bitcoin, not altcoins, but generally speaking, it's a good barometer. It's a good barometer, and you do want to assess your whole portfolio at this point to think, okay, well, if Bitcoin, let's just say, goes to red, or especially goes like over here into dark red, meaning it's definitely overbought, then what altcoins in my portfolio have pumped the most? Which ones can I take some profit from and maybe reinvest if we do have a dip? Because remember, Bitcoin falling will actually pull altcoins down as well, to then invest in altcoins at that point in time. So right now we're at a score of 54%. And if you ask me, that's okay. Hot and sort of this orangey color is when you kind of want to just hold and just chill. You've done the hard work, likely buying in the green. We had a fair bit of green over here as well. And again, this clock is actually customizable. So I haven't customized it myself. These are the default settings. You can adjust the weighting of each indicator to help you provide different results depending on your trading or investing style. But again, so at this point for myself, based on the percentage I'm holding, I'm going to be ladder selling out of the coins, the altcoins I own that have moved the most. When we reach about 75%, that's in, again, warning, and definitely start to heavy sell in overbought. But again, if that comes as we begin breaking out of the ascending channel, like if Bitcoin here is at a score of 75%, or even, again, maybe even 80+%, so it's overbought, and it starts to break like this, I'm probably not going to be selling, maybe taking some profits, but that's when this next step will come in, okay? So that's, of course, looking at through the lens of Bitcoin itself. But what about looking at it through altcoins? Because that's what we are selling after all, right? And so I think, first of all, knowing that altcoins have their all-time highs at different times. And this white line here is the altcoin market cap in aggregate, and it peaks over here, okay, in January of 2022. However, we had coins like Chainlink here in blue peaking in May 2021. So that's a full-on 250 days earlier. So if you're buying Chainlink down here thinking, hey, Chainlink's going to go back up because the market's still got some room in the tank, then you would have been pretty much a very disappointed person. In green here, we have Hedera H-bar. Hedera was a full-on, let's have a look here, roughly speaking anyway, about 200 days after Chainlink's all-time high. And even then, a much more closer example, if you look at Render and H-bar, these had their all-time highs about 2 weeks apart. Okay, so it definitely does depend on the coin you're buying and the narrative. So don't think all altcoins move in one big unison push together. They do not. They work in narratives independently. And so this is where the GGR zones are very, very important. It's by identifying a realistic price prediction, often a price that you're kind of like, the coin could probably do more. Okay, so being realistic and then moving down 35% from that price, establishing what I call the green zone. Now, we do this for you guys in the private community. We have a whole bunch of these zones already and prices already picked out for you. So I'll leave the link again to join down below. But I also have a tool here that actually plots this on each chart for you. So I'm using here, BNB, so the Binance Smart Chain from the previous cycle. And, maybe a price prediction, for example, was $500. Okay, so you have to be realistic with this. Maybe your buy price was $20. So you're like, okay, maybe here I can get some pretty good ROI, at least a 20-25x in the tank from the price prediction. But again, the GGR zone puts into perspective here a very important thing, which is liquidity zones. In the red and the gray, likely, you're not going to be able to really sell the coin. Most people don't think about this. When you try to sell these coins, if everyone else is trying to sell and no one's buying, you will not be able to sell at that price. It's as simple as that. Okay, so what we're doing here is saying, well, in the green zone, this is likely a liquid zone to sell in. Okay, so whether or not it comes true, whether or not your actual price prediction of $500 is maybe under the actual price, you see BNB went to $700 in the previous cycle, or whether or not, for example, you say, BNB is going to, let's say, $1,000. Okay, the GGR zones you can see here are intended to help you with some buffer room. So if your price prediction was $1,000 for Binance Smart Chain, the green zone here was actually still underneath where price ended up being. So you would have actually been able to take some profits off the table here and likely get all your positions off the table. So when we're looking at actually selling here, this is another tool that we actually have in the private community. And this is pretty much taking the GGR zones you can see on the right and the left-hand side here and it allows you to put in your average buy price, your average sell price targets. Let's say for BNB, we're looking to get out at $300 based on the GGR zones here. Okay, so again, if our price prediction in the previous cycle was the $500, okay, then roughly speaking, we are looking to get out, no higher than 300, no higher than 323. So let's say we picked 300. Okay, we put that in. Let's say we own 100 tokens, for example, and we get to pick one of the many, many sell levels that we actually have offered to you that automatically populates based on those three values. And we're going to pick this one down here because, again, we're looking to actually sell in the higher part of the GGR zone, so towards the quadrant 4 of the green zone, which again is like up here. And what we're going to do here is enter these values into this particular tool I've created here. So the sell price and the percent sold. And what we get is something like this. This actually visualizes for us where we are selling. Now, of course, in the previous cycle, you wouldn't have had all of this price action. But what you would have here is a very clear and a visual way to see what your sell levels are, and most importantly, this red line, which is your average weighted sell price. You can see in the top right-hand corner, weighted average sell price. So then what this does is it actually factors in all of the different sell prices and percentages. So you can actually go, okay, well, based on how much I'm selling at this price, what's my average sell price? It's something that most people do not actually assess. And this is one where they actually end up getting out of the market and getting stressed because they don't actually have as much money in their pocket as they thought they would. So how this would work is, again, you would just sell a certain percentage at each of these particular numbers based on what we established over here. So all in all, we have a pretty good idea of when alt season is going to happen. Okay, what we do know is that right now, while it's great and while everyone's happy, and again, I might be hated in the comments for even saying this, it is too early to celebrate alt season happening because this is the same pattern that's happened many times before. And so it's important now to look at exiting correctly. And it's important now to understand that taking profits while we're in this ascending channel isn't a dumb idea at all. Okay, you're actually a smart investor by doing that. No one's ever taken profits and been upset. But again, make sure, keep your eyes glued to that ascending channel. I definitely will keep an eye on it for you for when Bitcoin may possibly break out, and that may possibly be true alt season. Talk to you guys very, very soon. Take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.